I have a challenge right now in the garden. The Chaya plant growing beautifully. It's getting a little top heavy. You see the base of my Chaya plant here, how it's propped up with bricks? That plant was just leaning over as the top got very bushy and very heavy. We're gonna take some of the top of this plant out and we're gonna use what we cut off to start more Chaya plants. Just like someone shared this plant with me, I'm going to use these cuttings to start plants that I can share with other people. These two plants right here, these are 2 of the 3 Chaya plants that I cut off of that and got started with cuttings. They are doing beautifully. Look at all that new growth. Yeah, Luke, bring those buckets in. We're gonna use them to plant Chaya. I have a series of buckets sitting on the outside of the garden. Those are buckets that were used to plant tomato plants a couple seasons ago. All those buckets have holes in the bottom for water drainage. I only have 5 buckets with soil in them. The soil looks pretty nice, so I don't think I'll have to amend it or add any extra. This will be a really nice way to utilize these buckets and this soil that's been sitting for a while, not being used. I have 2 goals with this plant. One is to make the mother plant here smaller so it's not so top heavy, and the second goal is to actually start more plants. The first thing I'm going to do is get in here and prune this mother plant out real heavily. I don't have a lot of experience with Chaya, but what I've noticed is that when it's cut, it puts on new growth very quickly. Now that looks pretty harsh. It does. What I think is going to happen, what I hope happens, is that it puts on lots of new growth and gets more bushy instead of tall. All those cuttings will be used to start new plants. Just like when you start other plants from cuttings, you want to trim the leaves and the side branches off so that it's nice and clean to stick into the ground. Just like that. On the Chaya plant, it's the leaves that you want to eat. Now the younger leaves are typically better than the older leaves, but all of them can be eaten. They need to be cooked for at least 5 minutes before they're consumed because in their raw state, they're a little bit toxic. I ended up with 13 cuttings. I only have 5 buckets, so I'm going to plant 5 in the garden and find space on the farm to try to plant some of the others. The process to get these Chaya plants started couldn't be easier. I just take a stick, this is an old croquet stick, little tapered end, and I poke a hole right down in the middle of this soil, choose one of my cuttings, and stick it in. Here's your next one. Good job, Luke. That's 5 planted. We're gonna go around the farm and see if we can find other places where we'd like to grow Chaya. Okay, Luke, we're gonna go over here on the swale berm. I think we can plant 2 of them right here on this side of that golden rain tree, and we'll plant 2 more on the other side of the golden rain tree. Okay, put one over here. That's 4 planted on this berm, what I call the second berm. So we're gonna go up by the mulch garden, up by the orchard, and we're gonna plant a few more. How many do we have left?
4.
1, 2, 3,
4. 5.
5. Good, let's go.
What are we doing?
We're planting Chaya. This berm here is directly in front of my mulch garden, and my orchard is just over my left shoulder. I got some pretty cool stuff going on this berm. When I first put this berm together, I put 3 plum trees right on the front, closest to the mulch garden. Only 1 lived. Another one sprouted up on the back side, and I was getting ready to put another Chaya plant in. I'm pretty sure I have another baby plum coming up here. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm not gonna mess with it because I'd like to see another tree come up there. I have 3 plants left and I'm not really sure where I want them, but the cool thing is that if I plant it and I don't want it, it'll send up lots of babies that I could cut off and start somewhere else, and I can take it out of that location if I choose. You know, I'm really not using this berm that I put on the back side of the orchard. I think we'll go ahead and put a few plants in there, just see what happens. We just took one plant that was having a hard time surviving because of its size on the top of it. It was too heavy, and turned it into 14 plants, 13 cuttings, and the original. And now I can come back to my pile of cuttings and harvest a bunch of leaves and take into the kitchen. Now we can take this basket of leaves inside and figure out the best way to utilize them in the kitchen. I'm curious, have you ever heard of Chaya? Do you eat Chaya? I'm still fairly new to the plant and how to use it, so I'm curious if you have ever used it, if it's common to you. What is your favorite way to use the leaves of Chaya? I'm looking forward to becoming more familiar with this plant so that we can use it to make our family more healthy. Thanks for hanging out with me here in the Daddykirbs garden. It is always a pleasure to have you with me. I'll talk to you soon.